The fluorescent lights of Morrison's grocery hummed their usual tired song as rain drummed against the storefront windows. It was the kind of November evening that made people hurry past the homeless man sitting near the entrance, their eyes fixed firmly on the ground. But Sarah Chen always looked up. She had worked at Morrison's for 3 years, stacking shelves and running the register with the kind of quiet efficiency that made her invisible to management but precious to regular customers. At 26, she was saving every penny for nursing school, living in a cramped studio apartment and eating ramen more nights than she cared to admit. But poverty had taught her something that prosperity never could. It had taught her to see people. The man outside had been there for 2 days now. His weathered face told stories of harder times, and his torn coat did little against the biting wind. Most employees shooed him away. Store policy, they said, bad for business. But on her break that Tuesday evening, Sarah did something different. She bought a hot sandwich with her own money, grabbed a coffee, and walked outside. The man looked up with eyes that held more gratitude than words could express. His name was Thomas, he told her, and he used to be an engineer before life unraveled in ways he never saw coming. A divorce, then a layoff, then medical bills that buried him alive. Sarah listened without judgment the way people rarely did anymore. She did not offer empty platitudes or quick fixes. She simply sat beside him on the cold concrete and shared her own story of struggle, of dreams deferred, of holding on when letting go seemed easier. What Sarah did not notice was Vincent Morrison watching from his office window above. The owner of Morrison's Grocery had built his business on razor-thin margins and ruthless efficiency. Sentiment was expensive, and he could not afford it. His grandfather had started with 1 store, and Vincent had expanded to 12 locations across the state. Every dollar mattered. Every rule existed for a reason. The next morning, Sarah arrived for her shift to find Vincent waiting by the time clock. His expression was granite. "You were seen fraternizing with a vagrant on company property," he said, his voice devoid of warmth. "You used company time for unauthorized breaks and violated our clear policy about loitering. This kind of behavior affects our customer base and violates the image we have worked to maintain." Sarah felt the words like a physical blow. "It was just 20 minutes, she said quietly. "It was my break time. I bought the food with my own money." Vincent's jaw tightened. "The policy is clear. We cannot have employees encouraging homeless individuals to camp at our entrance. It drives away paying customers. I am afraid I have to let you go." Effective immediately. The other employees watched in stunned silence as Sarah collected her few belongings from her locker. Mrs. Patterson, an elderly woman who Sarah always helped carry groceries to her car, tried to speak up, but Vincent silenced her with a look. In the corporate world he had built, compassion was a liability and kindness was a luxury he refused to indulge. Sarah walked out into the gray morning with her heart pounding and tears threatening to spill. 3 years of loyalty erased in minutes. Nursing school felt further away than ever now. But as she passed the spot where Thomas had been sitting, she found a note weighted down by a smooth stone. The handwriting was shaky but clear. "Thank you for seeing me when everyone else looked away. You reminded me that I am still human. I will not forget your kindness." Thomas was gone, moved along by security probably, but his words stayed with her. Even through the fear of unemployment and the uncertainty ahead, Sarah felt a strange peace. She had done the right thing even if it cost her everything. The following weeks were brutal. Job applications went unanswered. Her savings dwindled. She took odd jobs waitressing and cleaning houses, but nothing stable emerged. The rejection emails piled up, each one a small defeat. At night, lying in her tiny apartment, Sarah wondered if kindness really mattered in a world that punished it so quickly. Meanwhile, Morrison's Grocery hummed along with its efficient, heartless routine. Vincent expanded to a 13th location, and the board of directors scheduled a meeting to discuss a potential acquisition offer. A major retail corporation wanted to buy the entire chain, and the deal would make Vincent and his investors wealthy beyond measure. The board meeting was set for early December at the flagship store. On the morning of the meeting, Vincent arrived early, reviewing his presentation one final time. The boardroom filled with executives in expensive suits, investment bankers with leather portfolios, and attorneys with briefcases full of contracts. At precisely 9 o'clock, the door opened and the representative from the acquiring company walked in. Vincent's confident smile froze. The man was wearing an immaculate charcoal suit now, his silver hair neatly trimmed, his presence commanding immediate respect. But Vincent recognized those eyes. Those same eyes that had looked up from the sidewalk outside his store. Thomas extended his hand with a slight smile. "Thomas Reeves," he said calmly. "Chief Operating Officer of Hartwell Industries." Thank you all for meeting with us today. The room spun slightly for Vincent, the homeless man, the vagrant his employee had helped. This was impossible. Thomas took his seat at the head of the table, his executive team flanking him like a well-trained guard. He opened a sleek tablet and began his presentation about the acquisition proposal. His words precise and authoritative. But halfway through the financial projections, he paused. Before we continue, there is something I need to address. 3 weeks ago, I was sitting outside this very store. Some of you may find this hard to believe, but I was homeless. Murmurs rippled through the room. Vincent's face had gone pale. Thomas continued, his voice steady. I lost my position at my previous company due to corporate politics. In the span of 6 months, I lost my home, my savings, and nearly my will to live. I wanted to understand what happens to people when the system fails them, so I spent time living on the streets. It was research for a project on corporate responsibility, but it became much more than that. It became personal. He looked directly at Vincent. During those weeks, I sat outside this store for 2 days. Hundreds of people passed me. Your employees were instructed to move me along. Everyone treated me like I was invisible, worthless, a problem to be solved by looking away. Everyone except one person. Thomas pulled out his phone and displayed a photo. Security footage from that rainy November evening showing Sarah sitting beside him on the cold ground, sharing her sandwich. This young woman, Sarah Chen, was fired for showing me basic human decency. She violated company policy by treating me like a person. She spent her own money and her break time to offer kindness to a stranger. And according to your records, she was one of your most reliable employees. 3 years of perfect attendance. Countless commendations from customers. Terminated for compassion, the silence in the room was suffocating. Vincent could not meet anyone's eyes. Thomas leaned forward. Hartwell Industries has built our reputation on corporate social responsibility. We believe that how a company treats the most vulnerable reflects its true values. We have spent considerable resources identifying businesses that align with our mission. And I have spent the last 3 weeks investigating Morrison's Grocery very thoroughly. He clicked to the next slide, displaying detailed reports. Your profit margins are impressive, Mr. Morrison. Your efficiency is undeniable, but your turnover rate is among the highest in the industry. Your customer satisfaction scores are declining. Your community reputation is poor. You have optimized for profit at the expense of humanity, and it shows. Vincent found his voice, though it came out hoarse. This is business, Mr. Reeves. We cannot run a profitable operation by coddling every person who comes through the door. Thomas smiled sadly. And that is precisely why this acquisition will not be moving forward. Hartwell Industries cannot in good conscience partner with an organization that punishes kindness and rewards cruelty. We will be withdrawing our offer. The board members erupted in protests. The financial implications were catastrophic. Vincent had counted on this deal, had borrowed against its success. Without it, Morrison's faced serious financial difficulties. Thomas stood gathering his materials. However, there is one condition under which I would reconsider. Reinstate Sarah Chen with full back pay and a promotion to assistant manager. Establish a community outreach program with a real budget. Implement employee policies that reward compassion alongside efficiency. Show me that Morrison's can become the kind of company that makes communities better, not just shareholders wealthier. He handed Vincent a business card. You have 1 week to decide. Choose wisely. As the Hartwell team exited, Thomas paused at the door. That sandwich your employee bought me cost $4.50. Her kindness was priceless. I hope you will come to understand the difference. 5 days later, Sarah received a certified letter. Inside was a formal apology from Morrison's Grocery, a reinstatement offer with a substantial raise, and a personal note from Vincent Morrison asking her to help him build something better. When she returned to work, Thomas was waiting in the parking lot, back in casual clothes, leaning against a modest sedan. He smiled as she approached. I wanted to thank you properly, he said. What you did for me that night reminded me why I got into business in the first place. To create value, real value, that makes people's lives better. You probably do not remember, but you told me that evening that you were saving for nursing school. He handed her an envelope. Inside was a scholarship letter from the Hartwell Foundation, covering her full tuition. Tears spilled down Sarah's cheeks. This is too much, she whispered. Thomas shook his head. It is exactly enough. You saw a human being when others saw a problem. You gave when you had little to give. That is the kind of person who should be a nurse, who should be leading, who should be shaping our future. Morrison's Grocery transformed over the following year. The community outreach program provided job training and support services. Employee satisfaction soared. Customer loyalty returned. And Vincent Morrison learned what his grandfather had known but he had forgotten, that businesses built on humanity outlast those built on cold efficiency. Sarah eventually went to nursing school, graduating with honors. She still works part-time at Morrison's, not because she needs to, but because it reminds her that every interaction matters, that every person deserves to be seen. That kindness is never wasted even when it costs us something. In a world that often rewards selfishness and punishes compassion, it can be easy to stop caring, to look away, to protect ourselves first. But Sarah's story reminds us that our smallest acts of kindness ripple outward in ways we cannot imagine. The sandwich shared on a cold evening changed multiple lives and transformed an entire company. It started with one person choosing to see another person, to sit beside them, to share what little she had. That is the power each of us holds. Not wealth or status or influence, but the simple, profound choice to be kind when kindness costs us something. To see people when the world tells us to look away. To give when we have little to give. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that compassion matters, please like this video and subscribe to Pure Kindness Stories. Share it with someone who needs to remember that their kindness matters, that their humanity matters, that small acts of love can change everything. Together, we can build a world where people like Sarah are celebrated, not punished, where businesses value humanity alongside profit, where no act of genuine kindness goes to waste. Because in the end, we are all just people sitting on cold sidewalks, hoping someone will see us, hoping someone will care enough to sit down beside us. Be that someone. The world needs your kindness more than you know.